Come on in, everyone. Come on in because we are here for another Car Talk video. And we are also here to talk about the exclusive video that Never Ever Mets dropped on their own YouTube channel on owntv. And it was an interesting clip, and I wanted to come and talk to y'all about it because they titled the clip of the video was called I just want to, develop an emotional connection. This was Chris talking. It was actually a conversation between Chris, Cinco, and Jay. And it was Chris trying to explain what the problem is he's having with Alexis. And Chris gave his interpretation of what's going on. Jay gave her opinion of what was going on. But what Chris said was he just doesn't want to be a piece of meat. He just doesn't want to smash and grab. He just doesn't want to crack Alexis' back. But he wants to build a deeper connection. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? Well, take a listen and then we'll talk about what do y'all think. And then I'm also going to have to play my introduction video whereby I'm going to ask y'all to like the video. I'm going to ask y'all to subscribe, and I'm going to ask you to leave a comment down below. And then we're going to come and talk about your opinion down in the comments, and then I'll give you my opinion.
I told you what to do, but you don't want to do it. I told you that'll solve the problem.
I bet it will.
He for sure wants you to crack. For sure.
And I get it, but I'm not just a piece of meat, bruh. Let's connect mentally. Then let's go there.
If you want to do all that work mentally, and you get there, you finally get to the point, I'm here mentally, now we can go to sex.
Facts.
And then you did all that work to get your mental right, and then as soon as you go crack, trash.
I'm gonna be like, you really...
Then you wasted all your damn time.
I'm asking, why would you push that agenda and do it one hand like that? Come on now, you agree, Jay?
You know my honest opinion?
Yeah.
As a man, I feel like y'all really don't give a about that. So it's the more the merrier with someone.
Yeah.
So you saying that you're kind of not on that is kind of weird to hear. But that's just my opinion.
I get it. And what you saying is so valid. I know it's weird. I know everybody like, what's wrong with him? But she know that don't bother me.
Yeah.
She know I could care less what other folks think. And I get it. Everything you saying, I already know. I bet people talking, saying that man weird, he won't cry.
I ain't know. This is the first time me hearing
about
about
I'm just saying,
whole,
something might be wrong with him, or, she know none of that phases me with my mindset.
Yeah, y'all got time. We got some time left.
Well, welcome back. So what did y'all think? What did you think? First of all, first question. You heard Cinco's opinion. So his opinion was that Alexis just wants to be cracked, and that he's listening to Chris say that Chris wants to build a deeper emotional connection first before he moves straight to sex. And what Cinco said was interesting from a man's point of view. What Cinco is saying is, what is the point of doing all that upfront work to build an emotional connection with a woman only to find out later that you don't actually have a physical connection with her in the bedroom? That's what he's saying. What Cinco is saying is we need to first get straight to the physical, because if the physical ain't popping, then there's no need to spend any time on the more emotional and deeper connection. So why would I put, in Cinco's eyes, he's saying you putting the cart before the horse. What Cinco is saying is the sex is the horse. That's what Cinco is saying. The emotional connection is the cart. Hear me out. Cinco is saying that for guys, the sex is the horse, and that the emotional connection is the cart. Now, What Jay said was, she didn't necessarily say if she felt like the sex was the horse or the cart, but what she did say was she felt that most guys agree with Cinco, and that most guys agree that the horse is the cart. And so for her, it was weird to listen to a man say that the emotional connection was more important than the sex. And so what Jay said was, this is just weird to even listen to. So, first question. Now, not about y'all, not about women, not about women. I want to hear if there are any guys in the chat. I want to hear from the guys. Which is which? When you first meet a woman, do you believe that which is the horse? Does the sex come before the emotional connection, or does the emotional connection come before sex? And now, ladies, you can chime in. Let me not block the ladies out. Ladies, what do you believe? Do you believe that the emotional connection is more important first, to have that, and then the sex? I'm going to say that the majority of women, including myself, believe that the emotional connection is needed first. We need the emotional connection first, which then leads for us to better sex. And what men are saying is, if we listen to Cinco, the sex is most important, but they probably all can agree that if there's also an emotional connection, it makes the sex even better. Now, some women might even deal with a dude where the sex is okay or not the best, but the emotional connection is real deep, right? Some women say, no, absolutely not. They're not going to put up with that. They're not going to settle for okay sex. They want both. People are different. But I think with women, there is definitely like more wiggle room. There's more wiggle room. And I think with men, and anybody can correct me. Remember, this is just me talking out loud with y'all in this car talk. With men, if the sex is just okay, but they have a deeper emotional connection, they're in love, maybe they're even in love with the woman, right? This could be in any couple. It can even be in marriage. Then I think what men then may do is they may decide, I'd rather go keep the lady for the emotional connection and all the other things she brings to the table, but then maybe find me a sex vixen on the side and really hammer it out in the bedroom, where he can kind of explore all his sexual fantasies. What do y'all think? What do you think? So my other question is this, and then we're going to get to Chris. My other question is this. If men are saying that sex is the horse, that they can have sex without even having an emotional connection, what does that say about how women look at men who cheat? Does that make you at all change what you think about men who cheat? Because if you think about it, most of the time women, when we're dealing with a man who cheated or who has cheated or is cheating, there's like an enormous sense of betrayal that women feel. It's an emotional sense of betrayal that they also feel with the man. Does it matter if you now know your man is the type of man where sex is nothing but an act to pleasure himself, and it actually has no emotional connection? Does it change it for you? Does it change? Because if it's true what Cinco is saying, that men think so differently around sex than women do, does it also change then that women and men think so differently around cheating? Right? Because if we think differently around what sex is, what sex isn't, what creates great sex, what sex is all about, it would beg to me that women and men really look at cheating a whole lot different. And can the two ever come together? Can you ever reconcile both genders' opinion around cheating. I mean, because when you look at our society now, I mean, I don't know what the percent is of cheating in couples, or not even, I'm not just about marriage, I'm talking about couples out here who are dating. Um, at this point in time, I think people will be hard pressed to find a person who has never ever cheated in some capacity. Some capacity. I mean, there's emotional cheating, there's physical cheating. So I know there's a lot of always discussion around what's worse, physical cheating or emotional cheating, which I think people bring up when women cheat. People say that when men cheat, a lot of the times it's just physical. But when women cheat, it's emotional. So when a woman cheats, they say that is a lot more devastating, supposedly, to a man, because what a man knows is that you didn't just cheat with that man physically, like I cheated with this woman physically. You not only had physical intercourse with the man, you obviously had an emotional connection with him, and that makes it harder for men to get over when women cheat. Now, do I buy all of it? Not necessarily. I do agree that when women develop emotional connections with men, it does open up the door. It can open up a door to physical cheating. It doesn't always have to happen that way, but I do believe it can. So I think it's an interesting conversation with Jay's opinion and Cinco's opinion. And if you remember, these two, Jay and Cinco, must really think alike, because when they first got to not the clubhouse, what do you call it, the retreat or the house, remember the first thing that they did was they went straight to the shower and made sure that they had a physical connection. So I think they might have had conversation before that says, hey, if the sex ain't good, we can just stop all this. It's almost as if during the time when they had not seen each other, if it's true they hadn't seen each other, that they were making an emotional connection on the phone, but then when they got to where they were going to, they said, well, there's no need to keep trying to make the emotional connection because now we're here. We better go ahead and take this car on the road and see if there's a physical. Remember, day one, not even day one, it was hour one. They went straight to the shower and said, let's figure this out. Maybe they felt that they had already spent so much time developing their emotional connection that they were ready to go ahead into the physical connection. So maybe that's another reason why women like to sort of date online first, because it gives them a chance to first experience developing an emotional connection with a man before they have to straight jump to the physical. And you know what? That actually could be a good technique, because a lot of women feel pressure to have sex with men really soon before they've actually built an emotional connection. So what they can do is they can prolong the sort of online connection or the phone connection or the FaceTime connection, so that it gives them more time to develop the emotional connection. So then once they do meet the man physically, then even though the man wants to smash, or what do you guys call it now, crack after 2 dates or whatever, 3 dates, maybe they've already built an emotional connection and they'll feel comfortable doing that. I don't know. But we're going to get back to the other part, besides just talking about women in general and men in general and you in general and me in general. We're going to talk about Chris's point of view. Now, here's what I think is going on with Chris. Do I think that Chris is the type of person that wants to build an emotional connection with a woman first before intimacy? I actually don't think so. And I actually don't think that he's done it before, because I don't think Chris actually knows how to build an emotional connection with a woman. I'm really starting to come to the belief that we've seen Chris on these dating shows. We've seen him date Maya. We've seen the way that he sort of chooses women. And honestly, the past that I've seen of him, he has chosen women off of a physical connection. So do I believe that Chris is one of the men out here saying, no, I don't want to sleep with a woman until I have an emotional connection? I actually don't believe that. I believe that he is using that as an excuse not to be intimate with Alexis, because what I believe about him and Alexis is that he's not physically attracted to Alexis once he saw her in person. I think maybe when he was on camera, honestly, to be honest, I even think he was just using Alexis to be on the show. I want to save it even further. I think he was using Alexis to be on the show. But I think once he physically saw her in person, he didn't have as strong as a physical connection to her, mainly because of what he keeps talking about is he doesn't feel that Alexis is in good shape in terms of her body. Now, maybe he likes her face card, maybe he likes all that, but he doesn't like her body, and then he definitely didn't like her personality as much as he might have liked it when they were online. But honestly, I think the issue with Chris goes beyond that. See, Chris has had a chance at both two types of women. He has had a chance at women who he is strongly physically connected to, and that has come in the form of Maya and other women he's probably dated. He had strong physical connection and interest and like and attraction to those women. But what he was never able to do with those women was build the emotional connection. So does Chris probably want both? He probably does. So in the past, he would get the strong physical connection and he didn't have any emotional connection. Now that he's here with Alexis, he's using the excuse that he doesn't have a physical connection or an emotional connection. He's using the excuse he doesn't have an emotional connection to justify why he doesn't want to have a physical connection. And what I believe is that's bullcrap too. I think Chris struggles, period. Here it is. Here is the period. He struggles with building an emotional connection with any woman, whether it is a woman that he has a strong physical connection with, or whether it's a woman like Alexis. He struggles with it. And I think it comes from his childhood. And unfortunately, what Chris is doing is honestly also what a lot of women do. Women and men do. A lot of people believe that the reason they haven't found their person, their one, their whatever, is because they haven't found that person. Like that person hasn't come into their life. What they've never really done a deep dive on, or really investigated, or really did personal work on, was saying, what if there is something within me that is preventing me from connecting with people in the way in which I am missing in dating and in my love life? Hear me one more time. Instead of believing that the people you have met are missing something, what if the answer to your problem is that you are missing something, or something is being blocked in you that is preventing you from connecting with people who have already come into your life? What if that is the issue? Because I believe that is the issue with Chris. I don't think the problem with Chris, I don't think the problem is with the women that have been in his life. Sure, is every woman a hero? No, there are some zeros. Is every man a hero that comes into a woman's life? No, there are a lot of zeros. But I also believe that if there is something within people that is blocking them, preventing them, causing them to self-sabotage, it actually doesn't matter if that right person ever came into your life, because if he or she did, you would either ruin it, self-sabotage it, or you wouldn't even recognize it and you might push it away. This is why when it comes to dating, finding your one, your person, everything, it actually starts with you. It does not start with you finding a person. It starts with you finding yourself. And in finding yourself, I don't always believe that what people do what they need to do. Typically, people think in finding yourself, it's all about finding what you're looking for, who you want, the person you want. When the reality of it is, finding yourself isn't only about you finding out what you like. It's also about finding out what parts of you will repel or shoo away or sabotage the very things that you are like. And the only way to discover what those things are is to go back and find out what are your own red flags. You see, everybody's real good at noticing other people's red flags. What are your own red flags? What is the baggage that you're bringing to a relationship, either from what you learned in your own family dynamics or what Alexis is talking about, her culture? I don't care whatever she's talking about. Her culture, I don't know what that is. I heard she's Jamaican. What she's saying about Jamaicans, I don't know. Whatever it is, whether it be about your family dynamics, how you interact, were you the oldest? Were you the youngest? Were you the middle child? How did you relate to your father or your mother? What did you learn? What messages were told to you when you were younger? Because all of this is what is making up your current dating style. And what you might have done is you might have picked up some toxic traits. And what we know about Chris is he absolutely picked up toxic traits. Because here's the thing I suspect with Christopher. So, first of all, remember, I don't think Christopher knows how to build an emotional connection with a woman, because what I believe Christopher spent was, I think he spent a lot of time as a youngster blocking out emotional wounds or emotional trauma in his life. I think what he did was, as a child, I believe he suffered trauma the way he grew up. And as he talked about last week, he was having his own apartment when he was in the 9th grade. That's too young to have your own apartment. So what Christopher is saying is, I have been escaping people since I was in the 9th grade. Hear this one more time. He says, I have been escaping people and escaping emotional connections to people since I was in the 9th grade. So if you have spent since the 9th grade, spending all this time protecting yourself, escaping from things that happened in your childhood, how on earth would you then be able to know how to now be an adult and actually be creating bonds with people? Remember, you have spent since 9th grade to now, right? Since 9th grade. How old are you in 9th grade? 16? 16 years old? 15, 16? You are now spending 20 years escaping people, trying not to depend on them, trying not to build emotional connections. And now here you are, 35, trying to all of a sudden have a love life. And you're like, you want to have a love life without emotional connection. You want sex without an emotional connection. And women don't want sex without an emotional connection. And Chris does not know how to build an emotional connection. And what's worse about Chris is, let me tell you something. When he was a child and he was running away from emotional connection, remember what he was also told as he was running away from was people controlling him and telling him what to do. This is what he told us. What Chris took as older adults mothering him or fathering him or telling him what to do, he took that as control. Now, his mother, his father, his siblings, whoever was doing that to him, maybe they didn't look at it as control. Maybe they looked at it as love. Maybe they thought they were trying to guide Chris, teach Chris, mold Chris, whatever it was. Maybe they didn't mean it for his harm. But no matter what they meant, no matter what the way that they delivered it, the way that Chris interpreted it as, it was control. He didn't like it. He wanted to flee it. He wanted to run from it. So here is Chris running away from emotional connection from 25 years. Now he is in a relationship. Now remember, he doesn't know how to build an emotional connection. He actually doesn't know how to do it. So now that he's in a relationship with a woman, there's a good chance that the woman he's in a relationship with, she may actually know how to build an emotional connection, because she may not be bringing the same traumas into the relationship that Chris is. So here comes a woman into the relationship who is much more emotionally intelligent. She's much more emotionally aware. She has much more emotional talent into how to build an intimate connection. She also desires it because she needs it to also have a strong physical connection. Chris doesn't know how to do it. So what does she do? She takes the lead. She takes the lead because she already knows he doesn't know how to do it. She starts to try to teach him. She starts to try to coach him on how to build an emotional connection. It triggers Chris. You know why? Because now he is going to interpret her leading, her coaching, her trying to show love, her trying to connect with him as control. The same way he thought of it was with his mother or his father or whoever it was. You get what I'm saying? The women in Chris's life are damned if they do and damned if they don't. If they never build an emotional connection with Chris, then he's still going to miss out it. He may have a physical connection with you, but he'll never connect with you emotionally. If you ever try to show him the way, teach him, coach him, help him along the way, he's actually going to look at you like you're trying to control him, and then that will push him away. You see? So Chris needs to go to therapy. If Chris wants to learn how to have both a physical connection and emotional connection, he's going to have to go learn how to build an emotional connection with an independent person who can teach him, but is not a person who he will then look at as a person trying to exert control over him. Hear me out. When you have trauma in your life and you are triggered by people close to you, like a significant other, you cannot rely upon that significant other or even someone that is close to you to teach you. Because what will happen is, because you are close to that person and you have so much familiarity with that person will start to feel like that other real person in your life. So let's say you're talking to a friend that you're very good friends with, of the opposites, or you're dating rather. What'll happen is, even if that person you're dating is right, if he or she triggers you from your past, you will start to feel like that person you're dating is either your mother or your father. Listen, but if you go to a therapist, someone that is independent from that emotional connection that you have with them, you will view their conversation and their advice differently, because what they won't necessarily be able to do is they won't be able to trigger you in the same way. Will you start to have some unsettling feelings when you're talking to that therapist? You will. You will start to have some very unsettling feelings, but they will not be as intense as if they came from like the person you're dating. So what Chris actually needs to do is he needs to get a coach. He needs to get a therapist who will help teach him how to build an emotional connection. Once he learns from this independent, non-biased person, he can then take what he's learned and he can apply it to a relationship in which he does have more of a physical and intimate connection with. But what Chris is doing is he's trying to get everything from the woman he's dating, and he's looking at it as it's a problem with the women he's dating, but in actuality, it's a problem with him. He's the problem. He's the person that needs to go and get help. It is not the woman's part in his life to teach him and coach him, because even if she tries to do that, he will look upon her as being bossy, controlling, trying to change him, trying to tell him what he needs to do, and she will reject it. She will absolutely reject it. Reject it. You can't be your lover's therapist. You cannot. You cannot be your lover's therapist. You have to have an independent and different person that can get through to you and or your partner. It does not work to try to be. Now, can you help your partner work through things that the therapist is introducing and helping them with? Absolutely. Can you be there as a person who listens to your partner? Absolutely. You can support a person in therapy. You can support a person when they're getting counseling. But it is very difficult for you to become that therapist. And what Chris is doing is, that is why when Chris went to the therapist, Dr. Allie, she actually sunk in a little bit with him. But sometimes Dr. Allie wasn't saying anything too different than what maybe Alexis might have told Chris, or even what other people might have told Chris. Even Alexis said that even when Dr. Allie was talking to her about her controlling behavior, Alexis admitted that she's heard it before, and she's probably heard it before from people who loved her, who cared for her, and who she's had an emotional and maybe more intimate connection with, but she rejected it. But all of a sudden, Dr. Allie comes along, and now she listens more. And that is the way it should work, and that's the way it does work. So listen, my advice to Chris and anyone in Chris's position who is having difficulty finding a way to build both emotional connection and physical connection with a mate, a partner, a relationship, stop believing that 100% of the problem is that other person. It could be, it might be. There are many contributing factors. But what I don't want you to do is do not rule out that you too could also be one of the people that needs to get counseling and therapy. That's it. That's all I got to say, y'all. Alrighty, talk to y'all later. Bye.